Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to the Bernadette Jackson Podcast, where we are redefining how the world views women with daddy issues by discussing topics, sharing stories, and gaining insights, all from the perspective of a fatherless daughter. I'm your host, Bernadette, the creator of Her Way Relationship Intensive and your favorite fear investigator. If this is your first time here, here's what I want you to know. The fear of abandonment and rejection is the lens through which fatherless daughters do most things. It informs how they show up in every relationship. Most fatherless daughters are operating in the fear of abandonment cycle, and they don't even know it. Each week, I focus on a topic that highlights how fear shows up in our lives, either through conversations with others or deep dives into the insights that I have. If you'd like to know if you're on the fear of abandonment cycle, go to BernadetteJackson.com/FOA cycle and take my free assessment. Again, that's BernadetteJackson.com/FOA cycle. Earnest also is an advocate for education. After a few failures early in life, Earnest quickly rebounded to complete grammar school, finish high school in 3 years, and become a college graduate. Earnest is now an entrepreneur, a business owner, a minister, and a speaker. He believes if you must fail, fail fast and fail first. That way you can rebound and build your life. Then help others to do the same. Earnest is also an author, a social media influencer, an online course creator, a workshop instructor. Earnest has been a guest speaker on several podcasts, as well as the host of his own podcast. Earnest plans on sharing his message with as many people as will listen. Earnest, thank you so much for being on the show today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So why don't you tell me a little bit about who you are? I know it says here that you are a husband, you are a father. Do you have sons? Do you have daughters? Tell us a little bit about your family.
Okay, so I am a husband, and I have 5 kids. One biological child, which is a daughter, which is the baby of the bunch, and I have 4 stepsons. With 4 oldest ones, don't ask me the ages. I don't want to. So the youngest is 19 and the oldest is like 20 something. I don't know.
Okay.
So I also now have 2 beautiful granddaughters, and I'm the fourth of a family of 5. Again, I was raised with my mom and my dad in the household. I'm the 4th. No, I always get mixed up. I am the 5th child.
Mm-hmm.
It's 9 of us all together. It's 9 of us all together. I guess 5 girls and 4 boys.
Okay.
So big family, love big families, and in a nutshell, that's me.
I love it. I love it. I love having a big family. There's always somebody to talk to. There's always something going on. Anytime you're at the family reunion, you know it's about to be a good time because all your cousins.
Oh, definitely.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So you mentioned that your daughter is the baby of the bunch. So she's 19 then, based on what you were saying?
18.
She's 18.
My daughter's 18. The youngest boy is 19, and my daughter's 18.
Okay, so your daughter is 18. Wow. So she has just crossed over into adulthood.
Yes.
How is that working out for you?
You know what? It's crazy. I just talked to her a few minutes ago. So she just graduated from high school this year, and she just turned 18. So I just called her because I was on the phone with her earlier today. She just took her first trip by herself with one of her friends. They went down to Florida. So I'm like, hey, you okay? Everything's all right? You know what I mean? So it's one of those things like, oh, my baby growing up, she's not a baby no more, so yeah, I don't know if I'm ready for it, but it's happening.
You're right. And that's what parenting is. Honestly, I feel like every new phase that you go through with parenting is like, you know what? I don't know if if I'm ready for it, but it's happening. Like, that's how you got to keep just psyching yourself up like that. So I completely get it. I completely get it. So what has your girl dad status? Like, what has being a girl dad for 18 years now? What has that taught you about yourself and about girls?
Um, Girls are emotional, right? And I don't know, that can go a whole lot of ways. And so it taught me one thing that I talk about. Men deal a lot more so in facts, and women deal a lot more so in feelings, which would, or should I say, girls and boys. It's the same thing, just on a different level as adults. So being intentional in how I address my daughter, so that even though what I'm saying may be factual, that it doesn't harm her emotionally. You know what I'm saying? So that's been one of my biggest things, and then also being vulnerable myself and not being afraid to be emotional with my daughter. So even like today, we had we didn't stay on the phone too long, but I had to talk to her about my direction, and one of the things that I'm pressing to do now is to get to the point where I feel, or get to the point where she can be proud of me. So one of my stories, personally, I had an event that happened in my family, or should I say with my dad early on. And then later on, I had an event that happened, with me and my mom. And with those events, one of the things that came out for me was, okay, I have to make my parents proud, and so that's kind of been a mission of mine throughout my life since then. And so just thinking about me and my daughter's relationship and things that happened, in my life or in our lives, up until this point, I'm like, I can't really say, I know my daughter loves me, but can I really say that she's proud of me? You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I had that conversation with her today. Like, what, my mission is to make you, whenever somebody say, who's your dad? I want you to smile automatically and be proud of who I am. So that's my new mission.
That's awesome. So when you had that conversation with her, did she tell you like what you could do to make her proud? Do you think this is a mission that you're trying to come to on your own? Is she partnering with you on this? What are your thoughts?
It was a quick conversation, and now mind you, she's at the airport, you know what I mean? So she's just now on her way home from her Florida trip, so I didn't want to get too in depth into it, whatever, but just in that conversation, I just felt like that's something that I wanted to share with her, So I'm sure we will have another conversation about, what that looks like from her eyes, and then what it looks like from my eyes in order to make that happen.
Okay. So then with that said, has being a girl dad changed how you view and treat women?
Yes and no. I've always treated women good, so and that point, I wouldn't say it changed me, but again, made me more aware of, how I treat them from their point of view. So in my eyes, like, I'm a good guy, I don't disrespect you, I don't talk down to you, anything like that. But that doesn't always equate from their point of view that I'm a good guy. You know what I'm saying? It makes me feel good, but it doesn't necessarily equate, from their point of view. So okay, now I have to be more intentional, about what I say to make sure that not only am I feeling better after the conversation, but they feel better,
Okay. So what I'm hearing you say is that you make sure that you are intentional about hearing the women that are in your life so that they feel understood and they feel seen by you versus you just, operating as who you are, and that may not be enough for them. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly that's exactly right. Now I'm not gonna say I've been doing this all the time. This is kind of I'm in a learning process too, but just going through, especially dealing with, this whole fatherless daughter platform, that's definitely one of the things that I've learned. Like, okay, I have to be intentional about, how I communicate to make sure that what I say and the intentions of what I say. Because sometimes you can say something, but it can be taken the wrong way. So you have to be intentional that, okay, what I say and what I do, does it have the effect that I want it to have?
Right.
And not just something that I said and I think, okay, yeah, they understood, but they didn't understand. So it's a new journey sort of for me to be that aware, but I'm trying.
Yeah, yeah. And I honestly, I feel like the fact that you're trying is really the best place to start, because it's like in the desire to want to do better, in the desire to want for the women in your life, for your daughter to feel seen and understood by you. I think that you're on the right track with, just wanting to be intentional about your speech with them, and just also illustrating exactly what it is that you want to say, because you're right. Sometimes you will say something and it will not be perceived in the way that you intended it to. And so
Right.
One of the best pieces of advice that I ever received about communication was that not only do you have to say what it is that you want to say, but you also have to ask the person, what did they hear and what did they understand? You know what I mean? Because when you ask that question after it, now you can see, did this come across the way I intended it to? Did they hear something else? And if so, why? Because that's really where the communication can start to open up for us to really understand each other and to get to the bottom of why I might have said A and you heard B. You know what I mean? So, that now is where the communication, where, you start to feel seen and understood, when you can get deeper into the conversation like that. So I love that you're doing that.
Yeah, that's also something I learned, just being married, because you say something and you think it's all good, but she heard something else, it's like, okay, what did you hear? And sometimes when she repeat what she heard, I'm like, I didn't say, that's not what I said. I didn't say anything like that, but it's how she heard it. So again, you ask some questions, okay, what did you hear? So that, okay, now let me say it differently so you hear what I'm saying, and not just, however, I don't know how she might have filtered it, but but you actually, we on the same page on understanding now.
Yeah, definitely. I get that. And I'm glad that you brought up, conversations with your wife, because my next question was going to be, has being a girl dad improved your relationships with the women in your life? And if so, how has it?
Oh, well, you know what? That goes both ways. My relationships with my wife and also with the women in my life has helped definitely with my relationship with my daughter. But sort of my relationship with my daughter probably helped even more on the opposite end, because with my daughter, I'm automatically more inclined, just as her father, to listen more, to be more attentive of what she's saying and how she feels, just automatically. Not saying that I'm not with my wife or my sisters or whoever, but with my daughter is automatic. I'm automatic, like, okay, what do you need? What do you want? What's going on? So with that relationship with her, it helps me when I think about it, of course, being intentional with other relationships with my, my wife or whoever. Now I can be just as intensive or intentional with them to, ask them same questions and make sure that, they're hearing me and also being seen by me.
Okay. So then with that said, can you describe what your relationship with your daughter is like, past the wanting to make sure that she has what she needs? What is that relationship like between the two of you? What's the dynamic there?
Well, so right now, and just being honest, I'm really working on my relationship with my daughter. So I've been married twice, right? So my daughter is from my first marriage, and she's my only biological child. So that relationship within itself is that's my daughter. Of course, I love her and everything. But when I got a divorce and then later on remarried, so now it's a whole nother family that you're coming into, and there's a reflection of, I know from her point of view, like, what do I fit in? Because over here I'm with mom, which that's good. Over here I'm with dad when it was just dad, but now it's dad and it's the stepmom and then it's the stepbrothers. So it's a whole nother dynamic. So it's like, okay, where do I fit in? So my relationship with her now is really trying to make sure that she knows that wherever I am, she has a place. You know what I'm saying? And being intentional with that and just being honest. I don't think that I've always, delivered on that.
Okay.
And because the divorce is a it is what it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can get ugly, from all sides, and then when you have a child, the child is in the middle, so like I said, I don't think I've always delivered on that, but definitely now I'm more intentional about making sure that, wherever I am, you have a place and it's a place, that you feel safe, with me, whatever and in whatever aspect that may be.
I really love that you shared that because it kind of gives the audience a different perspective of what it is like to have a child, to want to be there, but sometimes, like outside situations are such where you don't have the kind of connection that you want. And
Mhm.
so now you have a situation where your daughter is caught in the middle, like you said, and she may be feeling the brunt of that, like that separation more than you and your
Definitely.
ex-wife are, so it's like just with her wondering how she fits into your new family and stuff like that. I'm sure she has feelings about that, and now it makes it even clearer to me why you would have said to her and will be continuing conversations with her about what you can do to make sure that she feels proud of you, that she feels seen by you, that
Right.
she feels like you love her and that you're always going to be there, that wherever you are, you're still going to be covering her. And like that really is fatherless daughters are looking for. And not to say that your daughter's a fatherless daughter, but just in terms of the dynamic that you just shared with her and yourself, she may have some feelings there that you need to
Right.
explore, that you need to talk about, you know what I mean? So I'm glad
Right.
that you shared
Definitely.
that.
Definitely. And you can say that she's a fatherless daughter because the way
Mhm.
that I explain it is there's a array, or should I say there's a scale of what it is to be fatherless.
Right.
And it can go from a father actually being in the home but not being, attentive, emotionally and everything, but he's physically there. Then it goes all the way to the other end of the spectrum where he's not there at all.
Right.
But there's an array. So if you fit anywhere in there, then you can identify as a fatherless daughter. And
Hmm.
so I'm not uh, I want to, should I say, let me say it this way. If my daughter, and I do believe that there are some feelings there, that and some aspects she may feel, that she's been a fatherless daughter. Because again, my daughter was my shadow. When me and her mom was together, she spent more time with me than she did with her mom, just by the way that we worked and everything. So
Right.
wherever I went, she was with me. So she was the true definition of a daddy's girl, because wherever I was, that's where she was at.
Yeah.
So when that separation happens, and now we're not together like that, I know that there's some feelings there. I know that there is some on some level an abandonment that's been felt. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Just by the fact that I'm not there in the physical takes a a huge effect on her. Just from going from us being together every day all the time to, okay, now dad's not here. Maybe I'm only seeing them, so many times. Maybe I'm only seeing them on the weekend or whatever. So that within itself, has I'm sure, had an effect on her.
Hmm.
So, I don't take pride in saying that she may identify as a fatherless daughter, but I would be a fool not to acknowledge that, my part in that and, how that may have affected her.
Yeah. And I've honestly, like, I really feel like the fact that you're honest with um, the consequences of the end of that relationship and what that has caused, I think that just that acknowledgement alone is going to really be able to help you to mend whatever may be broken in that relationship. Because it really has to start with you understanding, like what has happened and how the other person feels. And because you are so open to wanting to do that and understanding that your daughter may have these feelings, as well as the work that you have set out to do with fatherless daughters, with just like mending families, I really feel like you're right there on the journey with just building the relationship again with her. And the fact that she's now 18, it makes it a lot easier sometimes, because now she has agency over where she wants to go, what she wants to do and whatnot. And it can be so much easier for you to, like have the type of relationship that you may not have been able to have to the extent that you wanted to, because of, whatever the relationship was with you and your ex-wife. So honestly, like I commend you for just being open and honest about that. And then also, like doing the work that's necessary to mend the relationship and just to restore it to where it was. Because at the end of the day, I can imagine your daughter not wanting to have that kind of connected to you. You know what I mean? Like, especially because she was so close to you, and you and her were thick as thieves. Like, I can't imagine that she doesn't still want that, So it's really just a matter of just building that again. And I feel like just with the work that you're doing, that this is something that you're striving for. I can hear your heart in terms of you just wanting to be that for her. So and
you know what, so that goes two ways too, because I don't know if you're familiar with Eric Thomas.
I am.
ET. So one thing I've heard ET talk about, is it'd be a shame to be a public success and a private failure, And so in this journey that I've started, going down with, helping fatherless daughters, I have to look at my relationship with my daughter, because if I save the world, and I'm able to make such an impact on all these, young ladies and mothers and daughters in their lives, that change their lives, but I don't change my daughter's life and, the way that she feels, especially, like I said, I know that there's some, fatherless issues there, just in the dynamics of our relationship. So if I don't address that with her, it don't matter how many other people that I help. You know what I'm saying? The one main important person out of every fatherless daughter would be my fatherless daughter. You know what I'm saying? So if I don't help her, if I don't get that right, then it doesn't even matter who else I help, and that's something that ET said, but it's something that I definitely feel, connected to. Like I can't save the world and not save my daughter. You know what I'm saying? So,
I definitely get that. So with that said, with your desire, have you had to search yourself for your views or your beliefs just in how you have chosen to parent your daughter, or the type of relationship that you've had with her?
I have, because I have to give her that. I've learned I've had to give her that space and to be, vulnerable, and that space to speak her mind and to speak her heart, because I can't heal, or I can help to heal a problem that I don't know about, and one thing that I've found is sometimes, they're not quick to share. If they don't feel comfortable, if they don't feel safe, they're not quick to share. And so now, me not knowing, because that hasn't been shared with me, I'm thinking everything is cool. I'm thinking everything is all right. But, and then when I come around, it's like, hey, daddy, and she's smiling, she's happy. But on the inside, there's still something there, and so I definitely have to be, have had to be more intentional, or more, like, okay, is everything really okay? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you smiling, but what's behind that smile? What's going on with you, in your life? Just in general, what's going on in life? Share me what's going on in your life, so that you can get that guidance from me. But especially if it has something to do with me, this is a safe space. You can speak how you feel,
Right.
And how my actions or something I may have said has made you feel and feel safe to express that, without consequence. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely have made me have to change some things, especially as she got older. Because when you're younger, it's like, okay, I'm daddy's girl, whatever. But as you get older, you do have a voice. You know what I'm saying? And you do feel a certain type of way. So now you have to feel comfortable with sharing that.
Yeah, it's so funny because when we were growing up, it was like you have to be seen but not heard. Like you didn't
Hmm.
have a voice, and it's like
Right.
you can't speak your feelings. It's like, speak your feelings. What are you talking about? What feelings? It was like, it was crazy because, you know, it's almost as if we were supposed to be robots. Like you weren't supposed to
Right.
have any thoughts about anything. You weren't supposed to buck the system. You were not supposed to, like, speak out if you wanted to say something. So it's interesting whenever I speak to parents that one of the things that I always hear them saying is that they have now given their children the opportunity to voice how they feel, and of course with the caveat that, you can voice your feelings, but you may still have to do the thing I asked you to do, but at least you have space to say how you're feeling about something and to have your feelings validated. And that's not even something that, we were even used to. Our parents were just like,
Right.
this is what I said to do. This is what needs to be done. There's no back talking. There's none of that. It's just, get it done. So
Right.
it's, I dealing with this generation, parenting them, you really have to take a different approach because I honestly feel like even if we were to try to parent this generation the way we were parented, I don't even think it would be accepted. I feel like it would be full mutiny in the house because
Yeah.
like they are completely different humans than we were, completely different.
Right. Right. Yeah. Definitely so. And it's a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
From and it's like the grandparents, right? So when
Yeah.
you look at your parents and what you went through and how you were raised, and then you look at the relationship they have with your children, and it's like, if I said that, I would never got away with that. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? But
Yeah.
so it's like taking that example, like, okay, well, maybe they're onto something, and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of, uh, you know, change how you approach it and
Right.
see what works. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, what do you want your daughter to learn about men as a result of her relationship with you?
Um, I want her to learn the values uh, that comes along with a relationship, with a man, right? And not just in a romantic space, but even in a friendship, just being connected to. There are values that goes along with that, and I want her to know and understand what those values are, and how it plays a part, even in her day to day, and how she interacts with guys, and what she should expect from them, and so forth. So I'm that first example of what that is,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so as a father, and talking to fatherless daughters, and just evaluating my relationship with my daughter, I come up with four values that I call the core four, which I feel are the four core values that every daughter should receive from her father or father figure.
Okay.
And so is guidance, is love and affection, affirmation, and protection.
Hmm.
And so I want to make sure that I'm providing those values to her, because one thing that I've learned and come to understand, that even with those values, a daughter never stops needing it,
Mm-hmm.
right? The only thing that changes is the responsibility of who it is that she gets it from.
Yeah.
So it starts out as responsibility of her father, but then as she goes in her relationship, especially romantic relationship, now she's looking for those same values, but she's looking at from it from her husband. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So she has to understand what those values are, and what they mean, in order to, you know, definitely recognize it in our relationship. But then now that she understands what that is, how do I recognize it in my relationship with, whoever this gentleman is that I'm in a relationship now?
Yeah, I love that. How did you come to those particular values being the ones that are the core for your relationship with your daughter or a relationship with a daughter and her male figure? How did you come to those four?
Well, just evaluating, my relationship with my relationship and my father's relationship with my sisters,
Mm,
as an example, because I grew up with my father, so I know
hmm
what that looks like. So, and looking at that, acknowledging that, then looking at what values do I want to give to my daughter? What values do I, as a father, want her to have or want her to receive from me, right? And then thirdly was talking to other fatherless daughters that I knew and kind of evaluating, okay, what was it that you feel like you got or you didn't get, and then putting all those together and try to break it down to a place where I can easily explain it to someone else, you
Yeah.
know. So that's how I came up with it.
Yeah, I really love that. If you can just tell us one more time what they are, because I want everyone to write it down. So get your pen and paper, everybody, write down what Ernest is saying. What are these four core values that women should be looking for? One more time.
Okay, so the core four values: one is guidance,
Mm,
two is love and affection, three is affirmation, and four is protection.
I
So
love
if
that.
if I have a second, I can explain them, a
Oh,
little bit, and then
please
they can
go ahead.
understand.
Yeah.
Okay, so guidance would be um, obviously right from wrong, but even more so, outside right from wrong is to help her to make um, correct decisions,
Mm,
right? So if we go back to what I said earlier, um, women are more emotional, so they make decisions out of emotion, right? Men are more factual. So as a father, okay, yes, I know you are emotional about this choice, but let's look at the facts. So to make sure that whatever decision that you're making it with the best intentions in mind, not just how you feel. Because just because you feel this way now, you may feel a different way tomorrow,
hmm
right? So definitely how to make better decisions, and then also with those decisions that you do make, it may not be a good or a bad decision. It might be a better or best decision. So
Right.
an analogy that I give with that is, if my daughter, which she has, came to me and said, "Dad, I want to buy a car," and she's saving up her money to buy a car, which is something she's doing right now. So she's like, "Well, I'm trying to save all this money so I can have a good down payment on this car," which is a good decision.
hmm
But then me as a father says, "That's good, but let me show you a better way. Let's work on your credit to get your credit up. So when you walk in here, you don't have to have a down payment." You
hmm
know what I mean? So it's that guidance in making those, just making sound decisions. So the next one is love and affection, which would be how I show love to my daughter, and how she receives it, and what that looks like, from other people, or what that will look like from the man in her life at a different time, right? So how do I make you feel, you know, in my expression of my love? Not only do I tell you, but do I physically show you, and how does that make you feel? So that's the love and affection. Then affirmation is what I say, the way I explain that is me affirming what you should already know about yourself, but maybe you don't recognize it yet. So it's me reaffirming that you are beautiful, you are smart, you are my daughter, you are worthy, and building that self image up, that self esteem up, because you already you. You know what I'm saying? And then how that reflects with relationships in the future is the way that I explain it. When a father has a daughter and he holds that daughter for the first time, he automatically loves her, right? She didn't have to do nothing to warrant that except be born.
hmm
You were born, so you automatically receive my love automatically. So how that reflects in your future, when you do meet a person, whoever this person is, you don't have to earn their love. You should be able to receive it just by being you, right?
hmm
Just by being yourself. So now that you have received it, as a result, yeah, there will be some things that you do, to express that, because you love me, as an expression of myself, I'm going to do this, for you or whatever. But I'm not doing it to gain your love. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But I'm doing it because I already feel that you already love me. And then that last one, which is protection, which first of all, first goes to physical protection, which we already, that already equates. Like, yeah, that's my baby. You better not hurt her.
Right.
But furthermore than that, out of protection, I would say is safety, and that goes into what I was saying about having that relationship with my daughter where she feels safe. She feels safe to be heard, safe to be seen, safe to express herself, that no matter what, she can say whatever it is that's on her mind, and I'm not going to shut her down or dismiss how she feels or dismiss her viewpoint, so that further on, again, in the relationships, when she do meet whoever this guy is for the future, she's comfortable with expressing herself and will not allow him to shut her off, or to dismiss her feelings. So that's the core for.
I love that. I really feel like it's so thoughtful. And I think that it just encompasses everything, like every area, like just the 360 holistic view of what you want a relationship dynamic to be between a father and a daughter, or between a man and a woman. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. What would you say is one thing that you could do better with your relationship with your daughter, if there is?
Just be more communication.
Okay.
Like communicate with her more. Mm-hmm. Especially now at the age she is now, and at the space that she is now. As a young woman, she just finished high school, so now you have this new freedom. You know what I mean, to kind of do what you want and see the world how you want to see it. Mm-hmm. So I want to be more. I want to communicate more with her. Not necessarily on a day-to-day basis, but definitely within every couple of days. What's going on in your life? Because she doesn't stay with me, right? So I don't see her physically every day. So mm-hmm. now I have to. Where are you? What's going on with you? How you feeling about that decision? Because we've had the conversation about college. So my daughter is a straight A student. Right? She's an honor roll student. So I said, well, what do you think about college? Well, I don't really want to go to college. Okay, that's fine. You know what I mean? So what does that decision look like? If you're not going to go to college, then, what is your plan? So just having that more, communicating with her more to definitely make my presence known, that whatever that's going on with you, I'm asking, but I wanted to definitely be to the point that I don't even have to ask. Like, you pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, Dad, this is what's going on. So that's what I'm working on.
Okay, I love that. What advice would you give a girl who is growing up without her father? Before we get back into this week's goodness, I want to invite you to join my private Facebook community, H.E.R Coalition. I make it my business to create safe spaces for fatherless daughters to learn, grow, and heal, and H.E.R Coalition does just that. We go deeper into conversations about the things that we discuss here on the podcast. I teach a new topic weekly, we share stories, and we just support and love each other. It's a space I wish I had growing up when I was clueless about how my fatherlessness affected me and yearning for a deeper connection. But I was just too paralyzed with the fear of rejection. Healing happens in community with like-minded and like-hearted people, and I would love to be in community with you. So join H.E.R Coalition at BernadetteJackson.com/community. The ladies of H.E.R Coalition get to choose the topic of weekly discussions, they get exclusive access to events, and first dibs on all that my brand has to offer. So again, join me in H.E.R Coalition at BernadetteJackson.com/community.
So my viewpoint on the effects of fatherlessness is that you don't necessarily have to have your biological father in your life in order to not have the effects of a fatherless daughter. You just need a father figure, right? Which is someone who's willing to step in and provide those core 4 values to you, right? And so I always say when you're looking for a father figure, and hopefully, if I'm talking to a fatherless daughter that's underage, then I would like to talk to the mom, because the mom will be the one that will be looking for this father figure for maybe herself and even her daughter. You know what I'm saying? Because as a young daughter, you might not really know what those values are, or you might not even know how to what you're looking for. But definitely as an adult, daughter who's looking for a father figure, I say three things to look for to make it easy for yourself. First, look for a person that's in position to lead, right? So that will be a pastor, a minister, a mentor, an uncle, an older cousin, older brother, a man that's already in that position where he's leading or guiding someone that's under him. That's number one. Number two, somebody that has the characteristics that of a person that you want to look up to, right? So I make the analogy. There's a lot of people that might take the position, but then do they have the characteristics that you want? So even in my own family, I have some guys that let's say they live a street life. You know what I'm saying? So they're in the streets. Now they'll take you under their wing, but is that really the characteristics that you want to receive? So you have to evaluate that person's character. So look for someone who's in position to lead, look at their character. And then third one, look for someone who's up for the responsibility, because it is a responsibility, and if they don't want the job, you don't want them to have it, So that's why I said, as a fatherless daughter, if it's the daughter of underage, then I definitely want to speak to the mom, because the mom will be able to look more, in depth at those three choices. And if you are an older fatherless daughter, then you're able to evaluate the men in your life and the men that you come in contact with, on those three things, at least those three. And then once you get those three, how are you sure that they can provide them four core values that we spoke about earlier?
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that's a really great response to that. But with all of that said now, so is the fatherless daughter, let's say we're talking about a younger fatherless daughter and you're reaching out to the mom. Should she now after she's evaluated a person and she's like, okay, he has the three qualities that I'm looking for, as well as the ability to provide the core four that you were talking about, should she now speak to this person about, him having this responsibility? Like, how would you say a person should approach a situation like that? Because it's very sensitive. You asking someone to be a male mentor and or just like take my child or even myself if the person is older under your wing. How would you facilitate that conversation? How would you want somebody to ask you that?
Well, I believe it starts with two things. First of all, definitely communication, but even more so relationship, right? So how is our relationship now? First of all, we have to build that relationship, especially as a mother. You don't want to just turn your child over to anybody. Right. You know what I'm saying? So how is your relationship with me first? Am I comfortable with you? Do I trust you? So it's just about that relationship. Before I ask you for anything, just in my conversing with you and my dealings with you, is our relationship up to par? Or do I feel like something's lacking in our relationship? Because that's why I said look for someone that's in position. Because if they're already in position, they're providing the core for anyway, without even thinking about it. They're automatically just doing it, So in your relationship with this person, whether you're receiving it or not, So if I'm receiving it and he's in that position, like I said, it's something that he's doing anyway. So then it's just, okay, now maybe going a little deep or deeper, should I say, this is our relationship, but I have my daughter. How would you feel about, being that father figure to my daughter? And again, if he's already in that position, 9 times out of 10, he don't have a problem with it because it's something he's naturally doing anyway.
That honestly, like, to me, What you're saying, like as a fatherless daughter, this is a foreign concept to me. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, this is really foreign to me. I'm like, really? Okay. Like, this is new. So it's because it's like I completely understand, and I 100% agree that if you do not have your biological father in your life, that you absolutely should have a male mentor. And I teach my clients this all day long, especially a lot of the times because fatherless daughters end up having fatherless daughters. You know, it is
Yes.
just a cycle that continues. And so in my communication with them, and if, you know, I know that my client has a fatherless daughter, I do start to talk about this in terms of, does she have a male mentor? And, you know, what are some things you can do to support her? Because the relationship that a mother has with her fatherless daughter can be very complicated. And
Yes.
because it's complicated, you know, you may not even understand that your daughter has the same needs that you did because you've lived with it all your life. It's not new to you.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a new wound. This is not something
Right.
that you're like, you know, really cognizant of. So it's like, you don't get it. You're not seeing it. And so in my conversations with them, I speak about that, but the the idea of how you go about getting it and just, you know, like having to have the relationship with the person first and you know, like asking them to extend that to your daughter. I'm just thinking about the women who may not have that, you know, like the fatherless daughters who are still really, really hurt by not having their father around and do not yet trust men enough to allow them into her space in such a way where he can be influential, he can be a covering, he can, you know, like love on her or whatever it is. So it's like when we have situations like that, it makes it really difficult for a woman to be vulnerable enough, a fatherless daughter to be
Right. Right.
vulnerable enough to say to a man, even if he has all of the qualifications, even if he's already doing these things that she needs, can you do this for me? Can you do this for my daughter? Like that is a really, really scary thing. And so that's why I was asking you, like, you know, how do you do that? Because I really want for the fatherless daughter who's listening, who does still feel really closed off, who does feel like she may not know of a person that she can trust in that way, how would she approach this? So I'm happy that you were able to explain it so well, because I think that it really gives them a starting point for how, you know, they can find this for their daughter if they haven't already, or even for themselves, because, you know, regardless of our age, we really do benefit from the covering of a father figure, you know?
Right.
It's such a great feeling to know that somebody has your back, that they see you, that, you know, they are protecting you and that you can go to them when you need something. So yeah, I'm glad that you were able to explain that, because my thought is like, well, what happens with the women who feel like they can't do that, or who are scared
Right.
to feel like, you know, they're going to be rejected or abandoned again, because that's the big thing, you know? So
Right.
thanks for explaining
Well, we usually, if I'm talking to a daughter before we get to that point, where I always start is you have to start with you first,
that. Of course.
because if you're not healed, you know what I mean. If you're not healed or you're not working on yourself first, let's just go with trust. If you're not working on yourself first, where you feel comfortable to trust, just in general, you know, then how can you trust this man that you come in contact? You know, like same
Right.
thing like you said. How can I trust you if I'm still not, you know, healed from my trust issues, you know, or dealing with trust? So I always say, start with yourself first. Let's look at myself. What things is it that I'm dealing with as being a fatherless daughter? You know, where does how does that affect me? In what areas has it affected me? You know, and it's that honest um, conversation with yourself, the honest looking in the mirror and saying, first of all, I'm not okay, because and that's one of the first things that I talk about too, because as a fatherless daughter, especially an adult fatherless daughter, a lot of the hurt and things that, you know, we've dealt with, we just suppress it, you
Right.
know, and we don't deal with it. So now later on, because I'm seeing, you know, some success in my life, you know, in, you know, business and schooling and relationships or whatever, I'm like, oh, I'm good. But what I found to be true is the more your success and everything rises, it forces those issues to come to the top if you haven't dealt with them. And so now, when at the height of your success, because it doesn't give you a warning, you know what I mean? So at the height of your success and you think everything is going good, now them issues come back to the top and like, okay, now you have to deal with me. So, but now you're trying to deal with it and maintain everything that you have, you know. So I always start with, you know, how really looking at yourself and figuring out, you know, number one, I'm not okay. Number two, how has it affected me? And then once I acknowledge how it affected me, okay, how am I going to begin the healing process in those areas?
Yeah.
With myself first.
Yeah, I think that that's good. I mean, it absolutely starts with us, but you know, I want to let us know that it starts with us, but it finishes in relationship, like it finishes in, you know what I mean? Like it's not going to end. You're not going to be completely healed on your own. You know what I mean? We were not created to be alone. We were not created that way. We are going to be healed in the same way that we are often hurt. So just as, you know, you were hurt by your father not being there, it is either going to be a loving relationship of a male mentor or your husband that is going to help you to complete that healing, because you're going to have to see this new relationship dynamic in action in order for your wounds that you received as a child to really be fully healed. So I love that you said that.
You know, I'm glad that you said that, because even starting this platform, the Fatherless Daughter platform is predominantly women, right? And let me say it this way: I'm the only man that I know that's actively speaking on it, right? And so meeting different women who may have a platform like yourself, I have been told, you know, yeah, what you're doing is good, is commendable, whatever, but you stop right here. You know, just okay, this is all women, so you stop here. And my voice is you're dealing with these issues because of a man. So it may take a man or a man's point of view to help you heal from it. So just to hear that you feel that same way, you know, gives me, you know, just inspires me that I may be on the right track, and to some degree, because, you know, yes, definitely the women have been holding down this platform, you know, way before I even came about. But that doesn't mean that, you know, a male's perspective doesn't have a place. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it's because of the man that we're here in the first place. You know, so I'm glad that you know, expressed that.
Yeah, definitely. And even going back a little bit to what you were saying in terms of you coming across women who are in the same space of wanting to be advocates for fatherless daughters, and they're like, okay, you know, you stop right there, like, you know, you've gone far enough, you know. I understand it because, you know, I am a woman. I get why they're saying it, but I feel like some of it may just come from a place of not really knowing what your intention is. You know what I mean? You can say all day long like what you want to do and how you want to do it, but if your intention is not yet known, I could see why a person would be like, well, I don't know yet. So, you know, you just let me just like deal with you at arm's length so that just in case this isn't what you're saying it is, I'm not going to be triggered again, you know? So I definitely get that.
No, and I do too. I do too. And I didn't take it personal. I didn't take it personal. And what I said to myself and what I've strove to do since then is to let my work speak for itself. You know, and so just this year alone, I've probably done like 5 or 6 podcasts. And I show up and I deliver my message and I let it speak for itself. And just the response that I get, you know, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok or, just the responses from, the ladies that listen to whatever podcast platform that I'm on, that said, come back, please come back, or, you're speaking to me, whatever, I let that speak for itself.
Right.
Because as those who come in contact with me, as they begin to trust me, then that message will be seen from, those who may have not come across me yet. So let's say I don't really deal with followings, but let's just say if the numbers speak, once, the number of women or daughters that I may have helped or been influential with, says that, he's okay, then that's going to, at least open the door for, someone to even listen to me. You know what I'm saying? So I just stay pure to myself and pure to the message, and, just let the word speak for itself.
Yeah, I think that that's the best approach. Honestly, I feel like when we are doing work in the healing space, that God has already assigned to us who he wants us to impact, who he wants us to help, and that it is not determined by the amount of people who don't want to hear our message. God has already said, this is who I'm going to be placing in your path, and this is who you're going to be influential for. And so it's really just a matter of us continuing to do the work and allowing these people to find us in whatever we're doing, So I feel like you just continuing to do the work is going to bring to you the people who you are assigned to help. So, just keep on.
Thank you.
No problem. One more question I have before we get into our last segment. I know with everything you said in terms of seeing your family members be raised by single mothers, as well as just understanding the dynamic a little bit. When you hear somebody say she has daddy issues, what comes to mind for you and why?
Oh man. You know what? So when they say, when I hear someone say that a woman has daddy issues, first thing that comes to my mind is acknowledging the fact that she's been hurt, because daddy issues don't come out the air.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said, if there's a father figure in her life, then even though it may not be her biological father, then she won't necessarily have the effects of feeling or having daddy issues. So if she does have daddy issues, that means number one, that she's been hurt. And then number two, there hasn't been a man to stand up in her life to take that position, and so that affects, it affects you as a daughter, but then it affects you as a woman too, because now you're looking for someone to stand up for you, someone to have your back, and sometimes because you haven't had that, you learn to do it for yourself, and you build those walls, and then you press forward, to do it for yourself. And then when you do run into when you do run into someone who may be willing to do it, but now you have this wall up of, can I trust you to do it? And then even if I do get to the point where I say I trust you to do it, do I really give you the opportunity to do it? So that's something that has even happened in my own life. Let's just say protection, for example. It's like, okay, I want you to protect me as my husband. I want you to protect me. But then when the situation arises, before I can even step up to say, okay, I got it, you're like pushing me out the way, like, no, I'm gonna take care of it.
Right.
Like, yeah, so you're saying you want me to protect you, and you have released to me, that you are accepting me to do it, but now you're not giving me the opportunity to do it. So when I hear that, like I said, that that a daughter has daddy issues, it automatically to me goes to the hurt, because every issue or every sore started off as some pain somewhere. So even if we think about a physical pain, like a knife wound or something, you had to be stabbed in order to have a wound. You know what I mean? So let's deal with the stabbing first. You know what I'm saying? Let's deal with the issues of it, or should I say the core of it, and then we can deal with the healing of it.
Yeah, I that's a really great response. Thank you for that. So the end of my podcast, I like to do a quick session called the Bernadette's Quick Five. And so that's where I ask you 5 quick questions. And I'm going to give you a few moments to answer them. There are no right or wrong answers. So you can just answer with the first thing that pops into your head. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So how would you like to be affirmed as a father?
I would say words of affirmation. You know, I would like for my daughter to say convincingly to me that she's proud of me. You know, convincingly to me from her heart that whatever hurt that I may have caused, that I've made up for that. So, and I'm gonna leave it there before I get emotional.
Yeah. I get it. Trust me, I get it. Okay. Would you be happy if your 18-year-old daughter brought home the 20-year-old version of you?
Yeah. Like I said, me personally, I've always had a strong mind and determination, and I was always on the right track. Again, from them early experiences of with my mom and dad to say, okay, I want to make my parents proud. Right. So I always was on, that right track. So even at that age, I was pretty good. The only thing I lacked at that age was information. How to make how to put it all together and information and opportunity. I didn't have that, but the mindset and the willingness to go forward with what I wanted, I did have that. So I'll be okay with it.
Okay. What is your hope for your daughter?
That she'll be happy. That she'll be happy and that she will be whole. Because even with myself and my relationship, one of the things that I've come to terms with myself in the last year and dealing with one thing I came to know about myself within the last year is every woman I've ever dated has been a fatherless daughter, right? And so bringing that into my mind is like, okay, why is that? And going back, thinking back as far as I could, I realized that I was still dealing with some self-esteem issues and some things that happened to me from my childhood that made me feel like that I was only worthy of attracting women who have been broken at some point. And so by me feeling that way subconsciously, I sent out this aura that attracted women that was broken in some way. And most of the common denominator of that has been fatherless daughters. So just in this last year, that was something I had to come to terms with myself and say, okay, let me deal with my issue, so that not only do I heal myself, but when I heal myself, then now I can help heal the relationships that I'm a part of also.
Yeah. Like just being able to draw that connection is really, really good because now it even lends even more perspective to the work that you do. You know what I mean? So it's like, not only did you realize that you attracted this, but now it's like, okay, well, what can I do to make sure that these women are being healed? And so like just taking it that extra step, it's like, it really shows where your heart is. Wow. I love that.
And that really was my viewpoint in it. That's how it came about, And like I said, I got 5 sisters, my sisters are married and everything, but I have 2 sisters that are not married, and, just that dynamic starting with my sisters and then my female cousins and my friends, like I said, fatherlessness is all around me. And knowing that for whatever reason, either I attract them or they're attracted to me, I just felt led I have to do something to help heal this wound. And so that was the start of it.
Wow, yeah. Okay, so question number 4 is, what warning would you give to a young man who is taking your daughter out on her first date?
Ah. Oh, okay. Definitely, I will give the analogy of a pirate and his treasure.
Mm,
This is my treasure. That I have carried, that I have protected, that I have provided for. Up until this point, and I'm allowing you an opportunity to show me that you respect my treasure.
mm,
And if you don't come back, you know what I'm saying? If my
yeah.
treasure don't come back, at least how I sent it or better, we're gonna have a misunderstanding. So that would be my nice way
Yeah,
of saying, you better take care of my treasure.
that's it. I feel that. I feel that. Okay. And then the last question is, what form of protection would you give your daughter to keep her safe when she's not with you?
My example of who I am and what I mean to her. You know, how did I treat you? How did I talk to you? How did I respond to you? When you told me you had a problem, what did I do about it? When you just wanted to talk to me, did I listen? You know what I
Mm,
mean? So all of those things. I want to be the best example possible for my daughter. So when I'm physically just can't be there, or maybe when I'm not even here on this earth anymore, no matter who she deals with and who that she comes in contact with, she have that point of reference, to say, I'll hold you up. I can hold my dad up against any person, male or female, whoever. And if you can at least equal, or to some extent, I ain't gonna say equal, but you got to measure up to some point. You
right.
know what I mean? So if I can just be that example that she feels comfortable enough, loved enough, and proud enough to use as a measuring stick, then I've done my job.
That is a really, really interesting perspective. And the reason why I say that is because anytime I ask this question, usually the fathers that I'm talking to are like, well, I wanted her to take self-defense classes, or I'll get her, like some mace or whatever. But your example is a really great perspective. So thank you so much for sharing that. Ernest, I really appreciate you coming on the show. And I want to give you the opportunity to say one final word to the audience before you can let us know where we can reach you.
Um, so to any daughter, um, I would just want to say that, you know, there is love out here, right? And there is someone who will love and cherish you. And you just have to be aware of the possibility, first of all. So when I talk about just how, from a man's point of view, and I say man was made in God's image, but
Mm,
he also was made with God's imagination. So
mm,
when God thought about man, he said, "Let us make man in our image." He didn't pick up another man. He picked up the dirt, right? So he literally had to know, with this dirt, what am I forming?
mhm.
How is it going to look? What is it going to become when I finish? Right. And so I say, there's a man that will look at you with that same way. How can I nourish you? What can I do to develop you? What can I do to add to you so that you become the person I already see you to be? You know what
Mm,
I'm saying? Because if you think about clay, when a potter picks up clay, it's just clay. You
right.
know what I mean? But is how that potter sees the clay in his mind is how he forms it to what it becomes. The clay might just see itself as clay. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? But that potter takes it and develops this base. You know what I mean? So I'd say that man is made in God's image and also with God's imagination. And the right man will see you way more into you than maybe what you see for yourself. But we have to just get to a place where we are open to receive that love, first of all, and then allow that love to nourish us and to comfort us and to develop us into the woman that we want to be.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Where can people connect with you?
Right now, everyone can follow me on Instagram. I'm at friend, the number 2 fatherless daughters. I just got on TikTok, and it's friend 2 fatherless on TikTok because they didn't let you put daughters on it. It was too many letters. So on TikTok, it's just friends 2 fatherless. But I'm working on a website right now. And the website, I have the domain name, which will be www.dealhealfulfill.org. So that's going to be the website. So if you just follow me on Instagram at Friends of Fatherless Daughters, when that launches, I definitely, you would definitely be updated on that. And yeah, so I got a lot of other stuff going on, a podcast coming out and all of that. So if they just follow me on Instagram for right now, Friend 2 Fatherless Daughters, and you can follow me there and definitely I'll keep you up to date.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Earnest. You shared so much value. Thank you for sharing your heart with us, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Okay, and also just as a gift to the listeners, when I talked about the core 4, I have a resource that I put together, and if you just email info@dealhealfulfill.org and just ask for the free resource of the 4 core, I'll send you that resource, which talks about the 4 core and also talks about the core 4, which is what you may have tracked if you don't receive the core 4.
That's good. Okay, so I'll make sure that I put that in my show notes, and thank you so much for offering that.
No problem.
This was a really great interview. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem.